The financial industry, in my view, specifically the wealth management world, has done a very poor job of providing real detailed view of what value we are providing. In this video, I'm going to outline our process for how we build a scope of plan inside our financial planning process. This is an integral part of what we do at 4 Points Wealth. Many people come to us looking for clarity, confidence, and a better path forward. And this is around execution. So we all know that there is so much information out on the web that we can readily get our hands on. But the challenge is being able to put it all together into a comprehensive, well thought out plan that you can then execute. And at 4 Points Wealth, we recognize that for many busy professionals, this is a huge challenge. They kind of know the path forward, but it's understanding the process for how to get there and identifying what is the most important next step for ensuring that they are on the right path to a successful and enjoyable future. And with that, what we do is on the front end, we build out a scope of plan. And this is all part of our process when we are onboarding a new client. When we're going through that financial planning process, it's incredibly important to understand the why, the what, and the how behind what we're ultimately doing. So today I want to spend a little bit of time talking through exactly what that process looks like. So this is kind of a behind the scenes or a look under the hood of how we provide that service to our clients and to help you understand what we're going to be doing on the back end to ensure that you're getting that clarity, that confidence, and ultimately the execution. So with that being said, let's dive into it. Our focus is really understanding if we are going to be a good fit for our clients. And so what this looks like is it starts as an introduction call. So this could be a phone call, it could be a Zoom, it could be a coffee meeting, but we want to understand if we're going to be a good fit, if there are some things that you need in a deep way to provide guidance, insights, and ultimately some analysis on how to then effectively put together a financial plan. And this introduction call is, 15 to 30 minutes. And we spend some time just understanding what you're looking for, but also having you get a little bit of a feel for the services that we provide. Again, really important step. It's not going to be requiring a whole lot of heavy lifting on your end, and it'll allow us to really get a good feel of if we identify that there is a reason to move forward, where this isn't just a triage moment, where it's not just saying, this is the next best step. You got to really focus on, opening up this specific account or something that can be done very simply. We then move on to the discovery session. The discovery session is going to be focused around what's called a good fit form. So after our introduction call, I then follow up with an email with what we call the good fit form. The good fit form is a wonderful document, about a 2-pager, that provides some insights on your financial life. It walks you through at a high level what we're going to be talking about, but it also allows you to then articulate exactly what that process looks like and some of the things that are on your mind. So it allows us to have this open dialogue during that discovery session. It also then allows you to put in a concise way your basic overall financial picture. Now, this isn't going to get into the exact details of statements and exact numbers. What we want to get is a feel, an understanding of where you are today as a quick snapshot. This is a great way for a lot of clients to organize or at least begin the process of organizing this. So in that discovery session, it's going to be a little more involved. The discovery session is anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half of your time. And it really does give us a really great understanding of where you are, what you want to be doing, what direction you ultimately want to be going, and then dives deeper into some of the analysis, some of the processes, some of the strategies that we might ultimately use for your specific situation. At this point, you have no need to put down a credit card or pay for anything. This is all part of our complimentary process that we then get to at the end of the wealth management proposal, which will be the next step. So during that discovery session, we're going to understand what are some of the burning questions that are on your heart. What do you ultimately want to figure out? Is there something that keeps you up at night? This really gives us a detailed view into your situation and also could present some interesting dynamics between you and your spouse. Maybe there's some differings of opinions, whether you have too much cash on the sidelines, whether you have enough life insurance, too much life insurance, whether you need this or need that. And I find that this is a really interesting moment because it can galvanize the dynamic between two spouses, but it also can present some different views, some different ways, and where I then become a little bit of a moderator between the two parties to ensure that we're going to be justified in whatever decision that we want to make, whether that is reducing a little bit of cash, increasing our life insurance coverage, adjusting the investment strategy, or whatever the ultimate outcome might be. This is that first step of just discovering what does it look like. Once we identify all of these things, it really allows me to give a very good view of the information that is available and what that scope of planning might look like. So a scope of planning for me is really understanding, what are we going to be doing for this client? The financial industry, in my view, specifically the wealth management world, has done a very poor job of providing real detailed view of what value we are providing. Now, I know that we're providing value, but sometimes it's difficult to articulate that from the client side, meaning they can understand what we're doing, but maybe a year or even a few months goes by and they kind of forget. So the scope of planning maps out exactly the work that we are going to be doing for our clients in that financial planning process. And this is a document that I've created using both the CEPA, the Certified Exit Planning Advisor framework, as well as the Certified Financial Planning framework. So using the CEPA and the CFP program as a framework to build out this scope of planning. So understanding all of the intricacies of what we will be doing along the way of building out your robust financial plan. From that, this is going to be built out through the wealth management proposal. So after that discovery session, we then move on to that proposal. The beauty of this process is that it is very low commitment on your end. You've got to schedule the intro call. So let's say it's 15 minutes. Then you've got an hour-long discovery session. And then typically the financial planning proposal will ultimately be about an hour. So less than 2.5 hours of your time commitment and very little of the heavy lifting as far as gathering data and doing some of that. That's mostly done through that good fit form. So now we walk into the proposal meeting. The proposal meeting to me is so important to understand that we are on the same page. The proposal is going to walk you through that scope of planning. So this is going to be a customized roadmap using that CFP and CEPA framework to then articulate what we're going to be doing specifically for you. So this could be retirement planning. This could be investment planning, tax planning, risk management, business strategy. There's a whole host of things that we can be doing within that scope of planning. We walk through it, and this provides that customized report for you to then be able to walk through and look at exactly the things that we're going to be doing for you and your family. I think about this a lot like if you were going to hire a general contractor to do work on your house. If the general contractor just showed up one day with his team and they started ripping down walls, ripping out wires, pulling out plumbing, that would probably be very upsetting to you. And also, you have no idea what you're ultimately be doing to the house. And the costs could just be astronomical. The same thing goes with the scope of planning. The scope of planning walks through each level and helps the client understand. So just like a general contractor would give you the scope, they're going to do a bathroom, a kitchen, and maybe a remodel to the master bedroom. That is a very understandable way. That creates expectation. That creates an understanding between the two parties, the contractor and the client. The same goes with this scope of planning. That provides a framework for that discussion. It also creates that expectation of what are the things that we are going to be doing along in this path? Because we have to understand that this is a journey. This isn't just a one-stop shop. It's not transactional. We have to understand that this is a long-term relationship. So with that, our scope of plans and our financial planning relationships are typically about a year. We are then looking at that scope of planning and that proposal as a longer term relationship, similar to maybe if you have a doctor's relationship. If you have an orthopedic surgeon that you work with, the orthopedic might also, they're going to say that you might need a rotator cuff surgery. Well, then they're probably going to do the surgery. So, with that same kind of context, we oftentimes then implement investment strategies to help the client. And that's going to create that longer term relationship. So, with that, we then inside the proposal meeting, we're going to review exactly where we are with that scope of plan. This is a great opportunity for clients to raise their hand, to speak up and say, I think you missed this, or I think this is right on, or you know what, I don't really think we need to do this particular thing. I've had multiple interactions with clients where they might want to add an additional thing, and maybe something that was missed during the discovery session, or they didn't even think of at that time. And they said, you know what, we want to add this. And so we have to kind of rework the scope. So it's a little bit of a dynamic process. But during that proposal, we get to have this dialogue. We then are giving them the opportunity to look under the hood at the different financial planning tools that we use. So we have a really robust financial planning software that we use that takes a lot of different things together. It brings a lot of different models together. It looks at the future. It looks at all the different things that are involved in your financial plan. And we can then start to manipulate those numbers to then look at, what if we change this? What if we change that? So we have a built out structure where we actually get to see and play with those tools a little bit. We also have a great tool for our tax planning software. So that allows us to do some scenario analysis. So we, again, get to provide a show and tell for our clients to then look at what that is. So we take this scope of planning, and then we actually get to look at the tools that are going to be affecting those different scopes. We also then get to look at some of the potential techniques that we might apply. So as an example, if a client thinks that they might need to save more or invest, we can actually show them in this setup inside of our financial planning software what that might look like if we did that adjustment. Now, it's not going to be built specifically for them. That's going to come later during the actual planning process. But this is during just that walkthrough and the demo of the different tools that we have and the technology that we have. Really cool way to give an idea of what that looks like and what that experience can be at from a client level. We then walk through the customized pricing model that we build for each client. We understand that each individual situation is going to be dramatically different than the next. I always say, and this is something that goes back to my retirement planning days, our financial plans are each customized to each individual client, and your journey is about as unique as your fingerprint. We have to recognize that each client is going to have a slightly different set of scopes. They all might look similar, but there might be tweaking. You might have a very specific need to look at your disability insurance, or a very specific need for your business that you want to set up a 401k plan. This is all going to be part of that scope of planning if that is reasonable for your situation. We then look at where you are. So there are 3 levels of our financial planning services, and this is going to cover a lot of the bases. And this is going to be for those clients that don't have that complex of a financial plan. They might have single income, not married, relatively early in that transition or in that journey in their financial wealth building. The next level is going to be our peak financial plan. This is going to be for many of our clients. If you're hitting your stride in your financial life, it has some complexity, but really it's not the most complex, but there definitely is some irons in the fire. You might have a rental property, you might have an old 401k, you might have dual income or a unique income structure that might provide where we need a little bit more of a complex approach. And then we have the summit plan. The summit plan is going to look at that highest tier. So this is going to be our most complex. This is oftentimes for our business owners, for those people that have a lot of moving parts in their financial plan. And what I see is typically the structure is anywhere between $3,000 and $7,000 for plans. That's going to range from that base level to that summit level is typically where we see our pricing right now. However, that adjusts. We also have a structure where we can tie together our investment strategies or investment management to those different tiers. And it's a really cool, unique way that we do that. So with that, that's going to be part of that proposal meeting. We talk through every little bit. We're very transparent in how we operate with our clients. We also get an opportunity to talk about our service model. How do we interact with our clients after we get through the planning process? So from soup to nuts, from the introduction call to really the end of what we call the action items and implementation phase, which could be an ongoing process, but that really heavy lifting part, which we're going to be meeting with every 7 to 10 days, we're going to have a lot of touches during that first 6 to 8 weeks. And then after that, we get into more of a maintenance program, or where we're going through and checking off those boxes of what do we ultimately need to be doing? Are we on track? What else needs to get executed? But really, with what we want to talk about is understanding the expectation of what we want to get from a communication standpoint. We get to talk about how those services are rendered, how those services are executed, and ultimately what the client can expect from 4 Points Wealth. Great opportunity for clients to ask questions. They want to understand what is the ultimate way that we're going to be working with them. Once we get through the proposal meeting, this is where we get to have a real dialogue. Really what it comes is where the rubber meets the road. Do we want to red light this thing and say, you know what, this isn't really a good fit for you? Green light it, which is move forward, or we might need to yellow light it, meaning we need to make some changes. This is a good opportunity for clients to have that moment where we can either part ways or we can continue on. Most of the people that go through this process obviously want to continue on. That then gets to the real planning phase, which is going to be started by where we onboard the client. So this is going to be the onboarding, fact finding, where we understand what's going on. So the fact finding is going to be a deeper dive than maybe the good fit form, where we're collecting information that's really specific information. Again, this is probably going to be the most heavy lifting that you have to do as a client. And I like the way that we have it structured because it introduces the client to the process. It doesn't ask them for all of their financial lives in the very early stages. It allows us to really get to know each other. And so by the time we get to the fact finding, clients usually have had time to gather this information. They've had that time to understand what this looks like, and we go through all the processes. This is also some part of the paperwork that we do. So, signing agreements, having those things get put together, and ultimately agreeing upon what path we're going forward on. That engagement process is really important because we need to set that expectation, help us understand exactly what we're going to be doing. From there, we then build out the observations and analysis. So we get all of our facts, we get all the paperwork put together. We then take that, and now the heavy lifting is off you. It's now on us. We are going to then do the analysis. We're going to look at all of those data points. We're going to put all that stuff into the systems. We're going to look at your financial plan. We're going to look at your taxes if that's part of the scope. We're going to start doing all of these reports, and we're going to be able to give that analysis and the observations to say, hey, this is where you are right now. Do you like it or not? And then we can figure out what we're going to be doing on a going forward basis. So once we do that analysis and the observations, then we move into the action items and implementation phase. Can be several meetings. People can get a little bit tired, or they can start to get glazed over look when they start diving in too much of the financial stuff. So we might take it piece by piece. We might focus on cash flow management for our first action items piece. And then we might go into the investment planning. And then we go into retirement planning. There's a whole host of things that we can do as far as that action items and implementation part, which is a really great way for clients to really get ingrained with the process that we're going through. And what I've found is this is the most important part. People want clarity. They want the confidence. They want the execution. We know that the first two are relatively easy. People have a general view of where they want to go. So that's the clarity piece. What does it look like? Understanding the whys, the hows, and so forth. Then they want to have the confidence to make that decision. So they want to know that their vision that they have is creatable or that it actually can be executed. But the part that we really earn our value and the trust of our clients is through the execution piece. This is where a lot of people, they know all the stuff, they feel confident about it, but then life happens. All of a sudden soccer season starts. All of a sudden they're schlepping kids from this activity to that, and something might fall through the cracks. So we then help with them as being a accountability partner to better understand what those things are, and we can then also help them prioritize what is the most important piece. So within that frame, we have done for you. So these are things that we're going to be actually executing on your behalf. Might be an investment strategy. Done with you. So we need to do this in collaboration. This might be helping you sign up or increase or change your 401k contributions, or it's DIY. You actually have to go and do this because it's outside of the work that we do for our clients, but we know that it's important. An example of this might be setting up will and estate plans. While we can help a client introduce them to a estate planning attorney, it's not necessarily something that we can do because we're not attorneys. We can't actually write the documents. So you actually have to go there and have that conversation. What we can do along with you is actually be a part of that meeting, ask the right questions, help be a liaison between the attorney and you, the client, to help have those conversations, because guess what? We've been a part of those conversations in the past. We know what that looks like. We know what to look for. So this can be a really great way to, again, give you confidence to know what that path is forward. So these are kind of that three structures: done with you, done for you, or DIY. And that can be really helpful for clients to understand what that looks like. So if you are in that world where you know that you need to do something, but you lack a little bit of clarity of what that really looks like, or maybe you lack a little bit of confidence in what those decisions that you need to make, this process is built exactly for those busy business owners, the busy professionals, the families that are looking to grow their wealth even more, and those professionals that want the confidence to make sure that the path that they're walking will ultimately result in financial success. Call 4 Points Wealth to ensure that you can walk the path where you feel clarity, confidence. We can help you with the execution.